everyone, I'm Katie Clevin from Dogs Do Learn. Today I'm going to show you all the common types of leashes, collars, and training tools that I've come across in the years that I've been a dog trainer. I'll explain what they're generally used for and how you can use them to your best advantage. If you want to know how to use them, watch our future videos where we'll be spending more time on each collar individually, showing you how to use each tool correctly. The Prong Collar. The main reason most people have a problem with this type of collar is that it looks painful. But we have to remember that dogs are physically built tougher than humans. Their play bite will usually hurt a human, but dogs love to be wrestled and bit in that way. So a correctional bite from one dog to another is a lot harder than you'd imagine. Compared to another dog's bite, the prong collar is not hard on their necks. The slip collar. This collar comes in both metal or nylon. It's similar to the prong collar in that it tightens when you pull it. It's different from the prong collar in that when you tighten it, pressure is only put on one point of the dog's neck. The prong collar has multiple pressure points all around the dog's neck, which often can get the dog's attention easier. With the slip collar, you have the ability to use continuous pressure until the dog responds, such as when a dog is refusing to walk. With the slip collar, you can keep the collar tight until the dog takes that first step. With the prong, you only have the ability to do a quick correction and not a sustained one. The slip lead is pretty much exactly the same as the slip collar. It's harder to find thinner leashes of this type though, and usually the thinner it is, the easier it is for your dog to feel it. That would be the only reason I would choose a slip collar over a slip lead. The harness. This was created for dogs to pull without hurting themselves. Originally made for tracking and sled dogs, the harness has now become one of the most popular tools to walk your dog with. I definitely recommend a harness if you aren't going to train your dog to pull, since the harness is the healthiest tool for a dog to pull with. I definitely recommend a harness if you're not going to train your dog to pull you, since the harness is the healthiest tool for a dog to pull with. The Easy Walk harness is another type of harness in which you clip the leash to the front of your dog's chest instead of the back. When you pull on this harness, you end up turning the dog around to face you. The problem with this harness and any other type of harness is that it uses a lot more physical force than mental force. So this harness is usually better for dogs that are smaller in weight than you and also don't have a lot of behavioral problems when out walking. One other type of dog this harness works very well for is sensitive dogs. Since you're pulling on them in quite a different way than they're used to, it often works quite well for sensitive dogs that don't like the feel of pressure of any kind. The gentle leader mimics a horse's halter by going around the dog's nose and behind their head. Pretty much the only reason I don't use the gentle leader for most dogs is that a lot of dogs seem to hate having it on them and will rub their face almost the whole time that they have it on. They never seem to get used to it. That being said, dogs that don't mind having it on, it works great for. I especially like to use this tool on highly excited dogs and puppies that are almost in a constant state of excitement. On very rare occasions, the quick corrections of the prong or slip collar will excite the dog more, especially dogs that tend to get aggressive when excited. In that case, the gentle leader will probably be the tool you'll want to use. The gentle leader also stops most dogs from pulling on the leash since it turns the dog's head back to you. The one reason a lot of gentle leaders don't work the way they were supposed to is that a lot of people don't have them fitted properly. When the gentle leader isn't fit properly, it slides around on the dog's head more and doesn't work as well when you try to redirect your dog. There is also a pressure point right behind the dog's head that if you have the gentle leader on correctly, it will be pushed by the neck strap. That's another reason I like to use them on excited dogs. Oftentimes, just putting the gentle leader on them will calm them down. The E-collar. The more common name for this type of collar is the shock collar. There are a variety of brands and types. The three most common types are the wireless fence shock collars, bulk collars that are triggered by the dog themselves, and shock collars that are triggered by a remote that the handler controls. Because these collars have so many shock levels, from unfeelable to intensely high, they are able to correct and stop behaviors of all kinds. These collars are also great for off-leash training since they allow you to, in a way, to still have the leash on your dog without them thinking that you do. The buckle collar is your normal everyday collar. This is the collar you normally would keep their tags and ID on. It doesn't tighten or loosen in any way, so you can leave it on them at all times. Because of the thickness and the fact that it sits low on the dog's neck, this collar is not usually used to teach pullers how to walk nicely. It can be easily used though to train sensitive dogs that don't pull much how to walk on the leash. The Martingale Collar is a blend of two different types. It tightens like a slit, but only so far. It stops before getting too tight. This collar is good for dogs who have large necks and small heads and can slip out of their normal collar. It also allows you to correct the dog to some degree. Because most Martingale collars are quite thick, the dogs don't feel the correction as easily as most slip collars. My favorite type of collar for teaching dogs how to walk on a loose leash is the slip collar. It's fairly inexpensive, and if you use it correctly, you can easily teach your dog how to walk on a loose leash. The harness is my favorite type of tool if you don't mind having your dog pull you, or if you don't want to spend the time to teach your dog to walk on a loose leash. Because the harness is the healthiest on the dog's body for them to pull you with, if you're letting your dog do any type of pulling, I would use the harness. The e-collar is my favorite tool for off-leash healing or training. Because it allows you to put pressure on them without them needing to wear a leash, the dog starts to learn that you have control of them at all times. I hope that was helpful, but every dog is different, so feel free to keep trying different tools and find the right one that works for you and your dog. Now go ahead and walk your dog.